He was America's favorite big brother, a man who once brought laughter into millions of living rooms. Gone. Just like that. On what was supposed to be a peaceful family vacation in Costa Rica, a tragic twist unfolded on the shores of Playa Grande. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the man we knew and loved from The Cosby Show, was pulled under by a deadly current in a matter of seconds. But here's the question nobody's answering clearly. Why were there no lifeguards on duty at one of Costa Rica's most visited beaches? How did a famous Hollywood star drown in broad daylight, surrounded by beachgoers, with no one there to stop it? And why is the organization responsible for the beach now issuing a public apology? Too little, too late. This story isn't just about a drowning. It's about failure, regret, and a beach that became a death trap. Stick around, because what happened next is even more disturbing. It was just another warm Sunday afternoon in Costa Rica. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, now 54, was spending time with his loved ones. Just a man, a father, enjoying a slice of paradise far away from the flashing cameras and studio lights. The beach was Playa Grande, a scenic stretch of ocean with golden sand and calm waves. Or so it seemed. Witnesses say he entered the water with ease. There were no red flags, no loud warnings, just blue skies, crashing waves, and the sound of children laughing in the distance. But within minutes, everything changed. A powerful current, silent and unseen, caught hold of him. According to Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Agency, Warner was suddenly swept away by what they later described as a strong hangover current. In a panic, beachgoers spotted him struggling and rushed to his aid. Bystanders pulled him to shore, their faces frozen in horror as his body went limp in their arms. There, in front of tourists, locals, and his own family, he was declared lifeless. CPR was administered immediately, but the attempts went on for nearly an hour with no response. His cause of death: asphyxiation by submersion, a clinical phrase that doesn't begin to capture the heartbreak of what truly happened. It was fast, it was brutal, and it shocked not just those on the beach, but fans around the world who woke up the next day to headlines they could barely believe. One of the most recognizable faces from 80s television was gone, not from age, not from illness, but from a preventable tragedy on a beach that promised safety, and delivered the opposite. To understand what happened to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, you have to understand the ocean that took him. Rip currents, sometimes called silent killers, are narrow channels of fast-moving water that pull swimmers away from shore in seconds. They don't crash like waves or roar like storms. They glide under the surface, invisible and merciless. That's exactly what Warner encountered. A deadly hangover current, common in Playa Grande after a stretch of heavy surf. But here's the terrifying part. There were no warning signs that day, no flags, no alert systems, no lifeguards shouting through megaphones, nothing. To Malcolm and everyone else on that beach, the water looked calm, inviting even. But the ocean had other plans. Witnesses say everything changed in a blink. One moment, he was waiting peacefully. The next, he was being dragged further and further away, arms flailing, caught in a pull no swimmer could fight alone. Even strong swimmers have been lost to rip currents like these. Panic set in. People started yelling. A few brave souls dove in, trying desperately to reach him. But the current was too fast, too forceful. By the time they pulled him back, his body had already stopped moving. And what makes it even worse? If he had been just a few feet to the left or right, he might have avoided the current entirely. That's the cruel trick of these waters. They pick their target and strike without warning. There was no time to scream for help, no trained eyes watching from a lifeguard tower, just bystanders, rushing against the tide, too late. And all of it could have been avoided if someone had just been on duty to see it coming. To an entire generation, Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just an actor. He was family. He rose to fame in the 1980s as the wisecracking, yet lovable, Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, one of the most iconic sitcoms in television history. Millions watched him grow up on screen. From a teenage son with a crooked grin to a thoughtful young man audiences rooted for every Thursday night. But Warner wasn't just another child star chasing headlines. He avoided the party scene, dodged the scandals, and instead built a career on integrity and quiet success. After The Cosby Show, he stayed busy, acting, directing, even performing spoken-word poetry and releasing music. His talent was never loud, but it was always real. In recent years, he earned critical praise for his roles in shows like The Resident and American Crime Story. Behind the scenes, he became a passionate advocate for mental health and fatherhood, often keeping his private life under wraps. Friends and colleagues described him as grounded, thoughtful, and fiercely devoted to his family. He was the kind of celebrity who didn't need the spotlight to matter. He mattered because of his heart, his principles, and the quiet way he inspired people. That's what made his death so much harder to process. Malcolm wasn't reckless. He wasn't chasing danger. He was just a man, spending time with his daughter, enjoying the simple beauty of the ocean. And now, he's gone. Not from the chaos of Hollywood, but from something as senseless as a missing warning sign on a beach in Costa Rica. This is where the story takes a disturbing turn. Because as the world grieved the loss of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, one chilling question echoed louder than the rest. Where were the lifeguards? On Monday, July 21st, just one day after the tragedy, the Caribbean Guard, a volunteer beach safety organization, released a public statement. And what they revealed only added fuel to the outrage. There were no official beach patrols on duty at Playa Grande that day. None. The Post expressed deep regret for Warner's death, but their explanation felt like an excuse wrapped in sorrow. According to them, limited resources had forced patrol efforts to focus on other areas of the coastline that weekend. Playa Grande, one of Costa Rica's most popular tourist beaches, had been left completely unsupervised. The irony is hard to ignore. A beach known for its dangerous rip currents, a beach where drownings had happened before. And yet, no trained eyes were watching the water that afternoon. No whistles, no warning signs, no lifeguard running from a tower with a rescue board in hand. Just a crowd of untrained tourists doing their best, too late. The Caribbean Guard described Warner's drowning as happening very fast and noted that even though bystanders rushed to help, there simply wasn't enough time. CPR was administered, yes, but only after precious moments had passed with no professional response. It wasn't just an accident. It was a failure of planning, a failure of oversight, a failure that cost a life that should have been protected. And for fans and family alike, that's the hardest truth to swallow. Malcolm-Jamal Warner didn't have to die.